Hello friends, I am Dr. Prashant Kumar, Assistant Professor, Department of Business Administration, Government Lohia College, Churu, Rajasthan. Now the title of this video is Meaning of Contract in terms of the Indian Contract Act 1872. In this video we are discussing uh, about the meaning of contract in reference to the Indian Contract Act 1872. Can we imagine any business without any contract? Is it true or not? I think business and contracts are interrelated because if contracts are not possible in any business, then how does it possible to make a business? Because in the business world, if anyone want to be a progressive businessman, then he should adopt contractual relationships to others. So as per legal terms, we can say that the contract is used to denote an agreement. We can say the Indian Contract Act 1872 defines an agreement enforceable by law is a contract. As we all know that if we want to create a contract, then we should have an agreement um, uh, before joining any contractual relationship. Now in this slide you can see an agreement enforceable by law is a contract. It means according to section 2 subsection H of the Indian Contract Act, an agreement enforceable by law is a contract. So if we want to analyze this definition, we will get two aspects. Number one aspect is a contract is an agreement. It means if we want to create a contract, then we should have a agreement first. And the second one is the agreement is enforceable by law. The agreement enforceable by law means that every agreement is not a contract, because uh, an agreement enforceable by law is a contract. If any agreement doesn't have enforceability of the agreement, then uh, then it can't be a contract. Therefore, the agreement which doesn't give rise to legal rights and obligations, according to the Indian Contract Act 1872, then we can say that no agreement can be performed as a contract. So if we want to create a contract, then we should have agreement first, and the agreement is related with promise, or you can say agreement is related with any proposal or offer, and the acceptance in regard to it. Now we will use a definition according to Salmond. We are using the definition given by Professor Salmond. As according to Professor Salmond, he says a contract is an agreement creating and defining obligations between the parties. It means they are saying that if we want to create a agreement, then we should create and define obligations. We should create obligations, we should define obligations between the parties. It means obligations means legal obligations only. Here we can say if we want to create any obligation in terms of any agreement, the obligation the obligation have a legal identity. It means if any obligation is not any legal identity, then the obligation is not enforceable by law. Now we will discuss if any sorry we will discuss next definition according to Sir Pollock. According to Sir Pollock, every agreement and promise enforceable at law is a contract. According to Sir Pollock, we earlier I have discussed about the definition of agreement, uh, and the definition of contract also. Earlier we have discussed, as per section 2 subsection H of the Indian Contract Act, that an agreement enforceable by law is a contract. And the Sir Pollock is also saying that every agreement and promise enforceable at law is a contract. They are giving their pressure on enforceability of the agreement. Now, as a conclusion, we can say that a contract is an agreement between competent parties. It means if we want to create any agreement enforceable by law, we should go with competent parties, because if any party doesn't have any competency in terms of contractual capacity, in terms of legal obligation, then he or she can't have any deserving capacity to do to involve in such a contract. It means if we want to create any contract, then it should be created by competent parties with free consent, and there must be a legal consideration also. And we can say that if any lawful object is not there, then he or she can't perform his or her duties in regard to any agreement. So if we want to do something, or if we want to abstain from doing something, we must go with legal obligations, with the with the help of enforceability of law. Now the turn is for characteristics or essentials of a valid contract. In this video, we are discussing about characteristics of a valid contract also. So we will start with first point. Now you can see the first point is minimum parties. Here we can say that uh, if we want to create any contract, we should have at least minimum two parties, or we can say at least we should have minimum two persons. One of them is known as proposer, or we can say promiser, and the other one is known as offeree or promisee or acceptor. So either we have proposer on one side, and the another side we should have acceptor. So these parties are known by different names in different contracts. If we are in a contract of sale, then we can say there must be two parties. One party is known as buyer, and the second one is seller. For example, if we want to create a insurance contract, then uh, one of them is known as insurer, and the other one is known as uh, insured in an insurance contract. It means there is a insurer and there is a insured, or the second party is also have a position in a insurance contract. Similarly, we can use another example, like if we are in a rent contract, then the one party is tenant, and the second one, or we can say the other one, is known as landlord. Now the turn is for second characteristic. Second characteristic is agreement. As we all know, agreement is defined in Indian Contract Act 1872, section 2, subsection E. Agreement means if we want to create a agreement, then we should create first proposal, and we should have acceptance in terms of the proposal also. Earlier we have discussed about agreement. Agreement means, for example, I am giving a illustration here. For example, Amit want to purchase a bike for 40,000 of Sumit. Amit want to purchase a bike of Sumit for 40,000. Here in this example, Amit is Amit is a Amit is one party and the Sumit is another party. And in this example, there is a proposal to buy a bike for 40,000, and here is a Sumit is in the condition to accept the uh, proposal or offer. So now the turn is for third essential of a valid contract. You can see the third point is intention to create legal relations. So if we want to create a agreement to be a contract, if you want to create a contract, we should have intention to create legal relations. If we doesn't have any intention to create legal relations, it means we can't make any agreement to be a contract. If we want to create a contract, we should definitely have a intention to create legal relations. I am giving some examples for explaining this characteristic. For example, we are living in a society and there are a large number of social and domestic domestic relations here. Just like, for example, Amit and Sumit is close friends. Sorry, Amit and Sumit are close friends, and Amit want to invite Sumit for his birthday party. uh, but Sumit failed to attend the birthday party on the stipulated day and time. In this condition, Amit is not entitled to recoup the price of the party on account of Sumit's absence, because the parties to the agreement didn't never intend to create legal relations. I am giving I'm giving an example of a case. We are I am helping a case in this example. It is of Kalai Haldar versus Sheikh Kayyamadi. There in this case, there are two friends. There were two friends. Number one is Kalai Haldar and another one is Sheikh Kayyamadi. So we can say, if we want to create an agreement, we should have intention to create legal relations. If we doesn't have any intention to create legal relation, then we can't perform our agreement to be a contract. So in business agreements, we should presume that the parties are having intention to create legal relations. Now the turn is for fourth characteristic. Fourth characteristic is contractual capacity. Every agreement, if we want to create a valid agreement, then the parties are having contractual capacity also. It means, if any party is not a major, or is not having sound mind, or is not having qualification according to the law of the land, then or she can't to he or she can't eligible for contractual capacity. According to the section 11 of Indian Contract Act 1872, it is also defined that the law presumes that every person is competent, or every person is having contractual capacity if he or she fulfills the following conditions. The following conditions are as under: that he or she is a major, he or she is of sound mind, and he or she is not disqualified from contracting by any law of the land to which he or she is a subject. I am giving an example for clarifying this characteristic. For example, Amit is a miner and he borrowed 1000 from Sumit for 15 days. In this illustration, Sumit can't claim the repayment because Amit is a minor in this situation, because Amit is being incompetent to enter into a contract. Because Amit is a minor, any minor is any minor person is not having a contractual capacity to enter into a contract. Now the turn is for fifth point. Fifth point is consent. Consent is also defined in section 13 of Indian Contract Act. As per section 13 of Indian Contract Act, the parties are said to consent when they agree upon the same thing in the same sense. It means uh, if the parties of an agreement having same thing and same sense, then then it is viable that they are having same consent or consensus and item. It means the both parties must have unison of mind. It means they have same intention to do something, or to abstain from doing something. Now, sixth point, free consent. Free consent is also defined in section 14 of Indian Contract Act 1872. A simple consent is not enough for making a contract, or we can say a simple consent is not enough for making a valid contract. If we want to create a valid contract, then we should have free consent of parties. It means consent is to be free. Consent is said to be free when it is not caused by coercion or undue influence, fraud, misrepresentation, and mistake. Coercion is in section 15, undue influence is in section 16, fraud is provided in section 17, misrepresentation is provided in section 18, and the mistake is provided in section 20, 21, and 22 respectively. Now we will discuss consideration as a characteristics of contract. Consideration means something in return. If we want to create a valid contract, uh, we all know that an agreement without consideration is generally void. So if we want to create a valid contract, we should have valid consideration also. Consideration must also be lawful, and consideration must also be real, and consideration must not must not be illusory. It means, I am giving an example for clarifying this characteristic. For example, Amit promised to pay rupees 10,000 uh, to on a certain date to Sumit without any promise in exchange. It means this is not a valid contract because there is no consideration in this example. And I'm taking another example. Uh, for example, Amit promises to sell his motorcycle for 40,000 to Sumit. Here in this example, motorcycle is the consideration for one party, and in return of his promise to pay 40,000 for another party. It means consideration is motorcycle for one party and the consideration is 40,000 for another party. Now the turn is for lawful object or consideration. You can see eighth uh, characteristic. As per Indian Contract Act 1872, Section 23, there are certain there are certain conditions that if it is forbidden by law, if it is forbidden by law, it means if any agreement is forbidden by law, if any agreement defeats the provisions of any law, if any agreement is with fraudulent activity, or if any agreement involves or implies injury to the person or property of another, or if any agreement in regard to immorality by any court, or if the court regards any agreement against public policy, then the agreement will be unlawful. So if we want to create any valid contract, the agreement for such type of contract should be lawful. If any agreement for an unlawful object or unlawful consideration, we can say it is void ab initio. It means it is not valid, or we can say it is unlawful. Now, ninth point, certainty. Certainty is defined in section 29 of Indian Contract Act 1872. I am giving an example for clarifying this characteristic. For example, Amit agrees to pay 1 lakh to Sumit for making maintenance of his maintenance of his house. For example, Amit agrees to pay 1 lakh to Sumit for maintenance of his house. In this example, the agreement is void because the meaning of the term maintenance uh, is clear. Maintenance of maintenance in this example is not clear because is this agreement is void. Because how can we define that the maintenance, how can we define maintenance? So we very first we should clear what type of maintenance we needed, we requires. I am giving another example. For example, Amit agrees to sell his shop to Sumit for 1 lakh or 2 lakh rupees. In this example, agreement is not in this example, this type of agreement can't be performed as a valid contract because there is a lack of certainty. Certainty means in this example, Amit is not clear about the price of the shop, either 1 lakh or 1.5 lakh or 2 lakh. As I have told you. Now, 10th point, possibility of performance. As per section 56 of Indian Contract Act 1872, if we want to create a valid agreement, we should have a clear vision in terms of possibility of performance. An agreement to be a valid contract must also be possible to be performed. In For example, Amit agrees to Sumit to discover treasure by magic. In this example, it is void because the act in itself is impossible to be performed for. Because how can we discover treasure by magic? It means in this example there is no possibility of performance. Now the turn is for 11th point, agreements agreements not declared void. Agreements not declared void, it means in India, or we can say in our country, a few agreements have been expressly declared to be void under Indian Contract Act 1872. And the such type of agreements are defined uh, in the Indian Contract Act 1872 also. The details of all such type of agreements can be found in the chapter of Indian Contract Act, or and the related sections of the Indian Contract Act titled by void agreements. So, if we want to create a valid contract, then we should go with agreements not declared void. Uh, if we are creating any agreement declared void, then we can't perform in a valid contract. So an agreement having all the essentials of a valid agreement is generally a valid contract. And if any agreement doesn't have any essentials of a valid agreement, that then in such type of situation we can't perform any agreement according to the Indian Contract Act 1872. Now the last characteristic is legal compliance. If we can say many legal formalities should be performed in making such type of contracts. For example, uh, as per section 10 of the Indian Contract Act, if we want to create a contract, then it should be made in writing or in the presence of witness, and it should be registered also if required by any law of the land. So in our country, if it requires that if there must sorry if any contract should be performed, then it should be in writing, and it should be in the presence of witnesses, and it should be registered also. For example, we can say, as per Indian Constitution, Article 299, it is required that the contract with the government must be in writing. So if you want to create a contract with any government, uh, we we should be in a we should be in a contract in writing. Writing means it is required to be perform our condition. It is required to be performed our duties or rights in writing. And I'm giving another example of the arbitration law. In our country, the arbitration law requires agreements to be in writing also. The Arbitration Act is also applied in such type of agreements. And if we want to transfer any property, it must be also in written shape, and it must be also in witnessed, and it must be registered also. Uh, so uh, I think we have completed all 12 characteristics of a valid contract. Conclusively, I can say that if we want to create a valid agreement, we should remember that every agreement to be enforceable by law must possess uh, these characteristics. And if any agreement doesn't have any essential or any characteristics, then in such type of condition, an agreement is not enforceable by law, because it doesn't create a legal liability, or it doesn't create a legal binding with the contract also. So I think we should we should stop here. Thank you very much.